Is this going to be a rock song? Greetings, Wanderer, this is Atlas here and welcome to the Void. Today I'm going to be reacting and breaking down a song called Shadowbringers main theme from Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers original soundtrack. This is another of the coffee personal requests that I had scheduled for this month. And this one comes from Asami. Now, Asami made the request or the message me which song she wanted but in Discord. But I want to make clear that it is an actual coffee personal request. The thing is that she wasn't able to DM me throughout coffee to make her request, so I told her to make it to DM me her request through Discord. So it is very important in the future, if you want to get one of the personal requests from coffee, that you register on the site first and then make your purchase, because otherwise it might be difficult to contact me throughout the website, because it just thinks that you're a guest. Okay, so first register and then make the purchase of the personal request. Okay, so as we can see here, Asami told me, okay, I want the song Shadowbringer from the game Final Fantasy XIV. Now I want to talk very briefly about the game, because it has been an incredible ascension of that particular MMORPG, right? The Final Fantasy XIV, which I think it's incredible, right? We need a more competition in the realm of the MMOs, since World of Warcraft was basically, you know, the king throughout so many years. I did try the game. I played the trial of Final Fantasy XIV for 40 hours, 40 hours plus maybe a couple more, and unfortunately I couldn't get into the game. I didn't care too much about the story, but that doesn't mean that the game is bad whatsoever. However, I told everybody in my Discord that even though I didn't like the game, I absolutely liked the music. The music is really, really good. At least the one that I got to hear in the trial was very good. Of course, I'm almost sure that I haven't heard this, because this is from Shadowbringers, which is, I believe, it's one of the expansions of the game. But my advice to the developers would be, yeah, like they are going to watch this video, of course, will be that they make the trial with the most current content of the game. You know, like they could give you like a level cap in the most current expansion, because probably the trial, the content that is in the trial is way too dated for people to really get a grasp of the state of the game right now, right? So that will be my only advice. And maybe if I had played the game in its current state, you know, with a level cap, that's fine. It's a trial after all. But I was able to experience the game how it is right now, I might have been getting into it. So yeah, that's my kind of advice for them if they wanna change it up a little bit in the trial. Now, lastly, I would like to invite you to listen to my latest track, which is a BERSERK-inspired song called Conceived in Blood. And it's actually the song that you've been hearing in the background of this intro. So if you would like to listen to the full track, I'm gonna leave it in this card right here, but also it's going to be in the description of this video. So, onward. Okay. Let me check here. Okay, Shadowbringers main theme from Final Fantasy XIV. Boom. Wow. Really good performance by the singer. Incredible pitch control. The vibratos are soothing. Great control. Is this going to be a rock song? Building it up, and it has lyrics, so we're going to be breaking down that too. There's a lot of '90s rock vibe in the tone of the guitars and the rhythm. Even the vocal performance here, the vocal performance. Yeah, this is the most J-Rock Final Fantasy part of the song. And the intro. Wow, the arrangement of the choir is there to make the transition. Really cool. There we have it. Yeah, this is pretty Final Fantasy, alright? But I would say that what makes this track Final Fantasy like, it's of course the choirs, but more specifically the intro with the singer and the melodies in the strings, very specifically in the violin section of the violin section, not the string section. But I think that it doesn't. The part what I was saying, that it was more like a J-rock part. Is like a solo, a violin solo. But anyways, we're going to be talking more in depth about those things, and the song has lyrics, so we are going to be talking about that too. So let's break it down. Okay, so let's begin this breakdown by talking about the lyrics. The lyrics are certainly going to be play a quintessential role into translating or opening a little bit of more of the understanding of what the song is trying to communicate or translate from the game. The music is a vessel of emotions and thoughts and, premises in terms of lore and storytelling and so on and so forth. So let's start with the first paragraph, which says, "For whom weeps the storm, her tears on our skin, the days of our years gone, our souls soaked in sin. These memories ache with the weight of tomorrow." Okay, so this particular part of the song in the storytelling of the lyrics, it talks about very much a very sad situation, I would say, because it's talking about, of course, this is her tears on our skin and so on and so forth, might be more of a metaphorical kind of thing, but it's basically speaking about people that used to be that don't have like a status of former glory. That's when they're talking about the days of our years gone. These characters or the people that lived in this world were once upon a time in their golden age. But when the lyrics talk about our souls soaked in sin, it makes me think that the golden years were basically the amount, the paramount of all the feats, let's say, that they made, but also that came with a lot of hedonism, you could say, or something like that, and shallow kind of behavior. So that's why I think that it says our souls soaked in sin. These memories ache with the weight of tomorrow. It's basically like they are yearning for the old good days, but now they have like the tail of that. It's going downhill, and what they're left with is the thought of how good it was, but also the things that led these people or this character, whatever it may be, to be in this situation now where those years are long gone, and now the only thing that they can think of is all the bad deeds, all the sins that are going to be waiting on them throughout the coming years. That's why it says weight of tomorrow. It's like each day that passes is going to become worse and worse and worse because the memories are there. One brings shadows, one brings light. One dark future no one survives. On their shadows away we fly. So yes, I suppose that the Shadowbringers could be probably like characters within the game that were the good guys, or at least were people that were highly regarded within the world of Final Fantasy, and they went into their apex of their glory and their feats and so on and so forth, like I already explained before. But now they are but a shadow of, no pun intended, of what they were. and they have abandoned their principles and everything they fought for, and now have become these bringers of darkness into this world, right? That's why it says, the one dark future no one survives, and on their shadows away we fly. It's like the threat of them within this world is so big that it's almost like a prophecy within the common people of Final Fantasy, that it's going to be like the age of shadows, let's say, and they are just going to have to live with it, quote unquote, meaning that they're going to be carried by the shadow, by the darkness, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it's a very grim situation, it appears. Okay, so now let's talk about the music. I found it a little bit hard to kind of translate this track into the Final Fantasy mythos, because I mean, there are certain elements that actually make the track a Final Fantasy track, which I'm going to be talking more in depth later. But I suppose that first of all, I would like to say that for the most part, this track felt to me like it was like a very early 90s hard rock track with some symphonic elements on it. And you know, the first thing that came to my mind were bands like Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith and so on and so forth. Although they are not like, you know, capsuled into the 90s only, because Aerosmith comes from the 70s and Guns N' Roses comes from the 80s, and they have had like a super long trajectory, right, in music. You know, the riff and the tone of the guitar in the verse and in the chorus and everything certainly sounds very, very much in that very, very specific time space, you know, a time period of time. The early 90s kind of hard rock sound from Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith. So much so that I would recommend you to listen to a song called Paradise City from Guns N' Roses and compare the rhythm guitar in that track with the one that you're listening in this track, and you will hear a very incredible similarity in between them two, which is great. I love Guns N' Roses and I love Aerosmith, and that hard rock 90s, early 90s era was certainly a very good one for rock music in general. But aside from those specific elements, although I could be speaking certainly from being a neophyte in the Final Fantasy original soundtrack world, because I've only heard like tracks from Final Fantasy 9 and Final Fantasy 7. You know, it has been very, very scarce, and they're in like for 15 entries in the game or something like that, right? So there's a lot that I haven't heard, so I could be very much speaking from a neophyte perspective. I will admit that. But aside from that, I think that the elements that actually make this track a Final Fantasy track is, first of all, the intro and how the string section is works, or the arrangements work in the track. Apologies. And what I mean by that is that, you know, the intro with the solo singer, you know, incredible performance, I have to say. Very good control of her voice, the pitch. Probably my favorite part were the vibratos, very soothing, super on point. I actually have nothing else to add to that. I really liked that performance. Felt very much like a Final Fantasy intro all the way. And then we can hear that it has this long build-up, right? The song has also the song is 6+ minutes, so it's, you know, fairly long. It has this long build up and so on and so forth, adding layers of instruments as it goes along. But what actually makes this track Final Fantasy track is not the hard rock part, it's the symphonic arrangements here and there. Very much specifically, the part where I was talking about it being like a J-rock, you know, Final Fantasy, very much Final Fantasy thing. But I would say that even so, it is a Final Fantasy thing to do. It's even outside of that, you know, it's in Japanese pop culture. It's a Japanese pop culture music, pop culture practice that I hear a lot, either in animes or, you know, just rock music in general from Japan. And it's that when they do these guitar melodies, that they will often add a violin or a string instrument to go along with it, playing exactly the same notes or the same melody, maybe an octave above it, most likely. So those two elements are very much what I think what makes this track a Final Fantasy track, because for the most part I would say that the string section was very tamed. It's there very much as a support role, because the track, when it becomes like an actually fully fledged hard rock song, the string section and the choirs and so on and so forth become more of a supporting role kind of thing. Now, to finalize my comment, I would like to say that I'm not really sure if the track actually translates what I understood from the lyrics. Now, I want you to take this as a grain of salt, because I haven't played Shadowbringers, so I don't know obviously what the story is about. So I think that I felt like the track doesn't really transmits the threat that is described in the lyrics from what I understood from the lyrics. But if I'm wrong from the lyrics, then disregard this part of the video, okay? Because this is just talking from what I got from my understanding from the lyrics. So I couldn't really see or feel the threat that is described in the lyrics in the track. It's I think it needed a little bit more tension in the song, a little bit more of dynamics in terms of peaks of energy and peaks of tension, because sometimes the track can feel a little bit plain, I would say. Yeah, I think if the track is actually the main track for the expansion of the game, the track had to be way more epic and way more. And even if you didn't want to make it more epic, the differences in between the energy parts of certain parts of the song, like the verse or the chorus or whatever it may be, you know, the interludes or whatever. I think they had to be more noticeable. But aside from that, there were parts that I really, really enjoyed, like the intro with the singer. Brilliant performance, I loved it. And of course, this very early 90s hard rock guitar that he has, that was very endearing to me also. Okay, so I think I'm gonna give this track a silver badge. Okay, it's gonna be a silver badge from me. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon in case you want to sway the vote towards what I'm going to be breaking down next. Also visit my Ko-fi profile in case you want to make a one-time contribution to the channel, or my Ko-fi store in case you want to make one of these personal requests. I open 4 spots a month at the first of each month at 1 p.m. EST, okay? And my Teespring shop in case you want merch and all that jazz. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.